Blau und weiß ein Leben lang. Hallo meine Leute. Willkommen zum das einzige Schalke Podcast auf English. That's right, folks. Officially the world's only English Schalke podcast. This is episode 112 of SchalkeMerica, and I'm your host, Richard Kharman. Joining me on the show for the first Victory Monday, Jack Mangan. How we doing, Jack?
Look at me. I can't even keep the smile off my face. It is so refreshing to be able to come on here and talk about a win and have some good vibes for once.
Right?
Nearly a full calendar year without a win. Luckily, we were able to avoid that dreaded mark, and good moment to take a deep breath and regroup and get some positive vibes going for the rest of the season, hopefully.
Yeah, Jake's in the house, as well as Joseph saying, what's up, guys? And for those of you who are joining us on Facebook and Twitter as well, welcome to the show. Yeah, we actually got a fun episode to talk about because we actually won a game for once, and what a way to do it, Jack. Fantastic game. Let's get into lineups, and then we can just talk about the whole game. 4-0 victory for the boys. Obviously, 3 goals by Matthew Hoppe, the star of the show, or is he? And Harit, goal and 3 assists. But getting into the lineups first for the home team, our boys lined up in 4-4-2. Ralph Fairman in goal. We went with the back 4 of Timo Becker, Ozan Kabak, Matija Nastasic, and Sead Kolasinac. We had a midfield 4 of Alessandro Schoff, Benjamin Stambouli, Suat Serdar, and Harit, with a 2 up top of Matthew Hoppe and Mark Uth. Coming to the game, we didn't know, obviously, we weren't expecting that this result was going to happen, obviously, right? But considering that, what were your thoughts of the lineup heading to the game with Timo Becker at right back and Stambouli playing more of his traditional defensive midfielder role?
Yeah, there were a couple surprises, I think, in this game, and definitely some changes in when you also include Ziyad Kolasinac in the lineup now as well. But yeah, Timo Becker, did not expect that. Not opposed to it, though. He's a guy for me that very rarely does anything when I'm watching the game that really catches my attention. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like he's not gonna win you the game, but I also don't feel like he's a player that ever really loses the game. I'm not watching the game and being like, oh man, what was he thinking there? What was he doing? Where was his head at? I mean, he's just a solid player. So yeah, I'm totally fine with that for the time being. And then Alessandro Schoff in at right mid. That was interesting too. I haven't been the biggest fan of him recently, but I think if you're gonna play just kind of a straightforward 4-4-2. That right mid position is actually where he actually might be effective. He's not really a winger. He's not a right back, not really a central midfielder. He's kind of like an old school, straightforward box to box up and down the side. And I thought he had a fairly good game as well. Benjamin Stambouli, early in the season, center back, not working out, shifts over to right back. Decent mixed results at times. Now shifts back into the central midfield role where he was at a little bit early in his career. I thought he was okay there too in this game overall. I mean, not fantastic, but I thought he was fine for the most part. Do you disagree?
No, I don't disagree. I thought I was pleasantly surprised. I rewatched the game today again, as you would when you win, you want to watch it again, especially in the fashion we did it. I thought Alessandro Schoff did pretty decently, like you said. And I mean, all the guys that you mentioned, Becker was pretty decent. He was big on the last goal, as was Stambouli was big as well in this game. Made some key plays that led to the second goal. So yeah, it was overall a nice performance from front to back. There were some standouts for sure, and some guys maybe underperformed. But
the 2 other things for the lineup, real quick though. So obviously Matthew Hoppe being in there again over somebody like a Katuchu or somebody else, noteworthy. We had comments from Christian Gross, I think, over the course of the week, or maybe it was even after the performance, where he basically just called Matthew Hoppe like the consummate professional, works his ass off, super committed, super focused, and. Maybe that's the explanation for why we're not seeing a Bosdoin more often or a Katuchu more often. Maybe it's literally just a training thing, and Matthew Hoppe's looking really good in practice. Who knows? But and then Amin Harit over on the left-hand side playing like left mid, and so often we've felt as though he needs to be kind of starting in a central role to really be effective. At times we've kind of pushed him out wide left as a winger or something like that, and it doesn't always seem to work out that well. So I thought it was interesting that he was in that position and yet was as effective as he was in this game and was still pulling the strings and often found himself drifting centrally anyway.
Yeah, I think that was an interesting piece. Like the first goal, which we'll get to, he starts on the left, but yeah, for the remainder of the game, he seems like he pushed in centrally, which is fine. You kind of want him in that roving role, but able to go back to the left for positional wise. And before we get to the goals, let's look at the lineup for Hoffenheim. They came out with a 3-4-2-1. Goalie is Baumann, back 3 of Bogard, Vogt, and Posch, and midfield 4 of Kasinovic, Baumgartner, Samaseko, and Jan. And then attacking midfielders of Kramaric, Bebu, 2 guys we know very well. And then Belfodil, who always has scored on us in the past, whether it be for Werder Bremen or whoever. So it was a formidable lineup, a lineup that, who had some injury problems, but a team that still had plenty of players, plenty of playmakers out there, especially Kramaric, a guy who scares many people in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is something to keep in mind, the number of injuries that Hoffenheim are contending with at the moment. I mean, you could try to make an argument that it's like a Hoffenheim B team. I still think there's a decent number of names on that pitch that are still like solid, absolutely starting caliber players. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but so I think that was perhaps a little bit overstated in this game, or maybe I would just like to think that because I'm biased towards Schalke. But yeah, I mean, some familiar faces in there as well. Like you said, Kramaric, Baumann, part-time goalkeeper, part-time Black Keys band member. It's a lot of names.
Nice.
You like that one? Next. Yeah. No, names that we know and we're familiar with. And yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, it was an interesting game. And, I agree with Jake. I want to apologize to Seo because he was the captain of the game. And we talked about how in previous podcasts, or the last podcast, how it was like, yeah, we'd like to see him eventually be captain, but to take it from Mascarell from the beginning, it would be a little awkward. I don't know what the reason for Mascarell not playing in this game, if it was injury or what, but we saw Kolasinac as a captain, and Jake was angry. I was confused about that call, but
it's not so much that you and I think are upset that he was the captain. We were
correct.
Concerned about some of the rumors about how it was coming about.
Yeah,
the sense that it may have been somehow part of the loan negotiation was that like, all right, I'm going to come here, but I also get the captaincy.
Correct.
That to me is sort of a weird move. Who knows if that's actually the case, but I don't think anyone would be upset about him getting the captaincy in general. I mean, he's absolutely the kind of guy that you want to do that. I mean, the fact that he's coming here on loan to try to help us out of relegation, I mean, get some playing time for him too. It's a good move for him as well for his career, but at the moment, but the fact that he would do that, I think speaks volumes to how much he cares about the club and, vocal leader, but also through his play on the pitch. Like, less than 2 minutes into the match, he picks up the ball on the left-hand side in transition, charges exactly at least 30 yards into the box, fires off a shot. And I'm like, when's the last time you've seen Bastian Oczipka do that? And then to be fair, Oczipka actually kind of got forward and had a nice assist at the end of the game. But in general, it's that kind of, I mean, like, we don't have any wingers really in the squad, as we've talked about, in terms of like the natural like positions of some of these players. And so we struggle sometimes to get width a lot, and we haven't had that been made up for at all by the left backs or the right backs. Like they're not pushing up and helping us get that width and making up for the lack of some of the wider attacking players that you might otherwise normally have. And Kolasinac, I think, immediately kind of filled that role a little bit and got forward quite a bit and was effective in transition. Yeah,
and Jacob says not having Harit play so defensive was the best part of having Seo out there. And yeah, to an extent, I agree with that. It's an interesting game that it was. I mean, let's get right to the goals. The first goal that happened in the 42nd minute. So leading up to this goal, Schalke came out very good. First 15, 20 minutes, they looked, very aggressive. Harit was active immediately. That's what the big thing I noticed in this game was Harit was active from the beginning, and he stayed active throughout the game. But the first goal actually led where Kolasinac, we just talked about him, a beautiful header, a powerful header leads Harit on a breakaway or on a long pass on a counterattack. He's running up the left-hand side. Hoppe's looking for his run. He's signaling for the ball. Harit spots it. He has the trust in him that we talked about a couple episodes ago, not having it. He gave it to him. Hoppe with a wonderful chip with his left foot past Baumann, get the first goal of the game. It was just a beautiful goal all the way around, but that chip shot was magnificent from Hoppe, but from beginning to end of that play, beautiful.
Fantastic. I mean, and I don't think I appreciated live in the moment how good that header from Ziyad was.
It was powerful.
Like laser, like header, like lead pass. I mean, unbelievable header from him. And that whole play was so beautiful because it's Harit who picks it up. He plays the ball that ultimately gets to Hoppe. Hoppe plays it back to Kolasinac, plays it back to Harit, who plays it back to. It's like the three of them just combining multiple times on this transition. Beautiful. And yeah, as you said, it's the trust to actually play those through balls to Matthew Hoppe. The one thing we've been saying about him so far in the limited sample size that we've had, even though we've been critical about some things, is the one thing that really kind of pops off the screen about him that you're noticing consistently is his off the ball movement and how good he is at finding space and the intelligence of some of the runs that he makes. And yeah, we just don't think that his teammates have had the trust in him to really give him those opportunities and have him be on the end of some of these chances in the final third. And the first one that we see, I mean, I think there may have been one before this that there was a through ball that like I think he didn't do too well with, and I was concerned because I was like, that was a great run and he actually got the pass.
Yeah, the play where just before that, Harit came down the left hand side, got into the box, and passed it in front to the 6-yard box of Hoppe, and Hoppe just shipped it over the goalkeeper over the bar. And you're like, okay, well, the connection was there. We're seeing, like, to Jake's point, the relationship between Seo and Harit, and also Harit and Hoppe was lively. And this is a good thing because we need that. We haven't had that chemistry.
It was, but I mean, he was making good runs from the beginning of the match, and then this one finally, it's a nice through ball from Harit, and then just it's for a 19-year-old who has barely played any time in the league. I mean, he's very much in the midst of his introduction to first team football and like top flight football. Such a deft finish, and we saw that consistently. It was composed, it was under control, and just really smart. So yeah, I was so stoked at that. Obviously, really happy for him, and given that it's SchalkeMerica, we're excited about that as well. But to take the lead and through some like slick offensive play, really nice.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a flash in the pan that came out of nowhere. We saw, you were talking about glimpses where he was making runs just before that goal. Actually, he got the ball and a through pass to the right-hand side, and he took a shot and it was blocked or whatever. But the announcer had just said, "Oh, it looks like he's lacking confidence," or that's the play. He actually no.
That's the play I was talking about.
Yeah. So and then a couple minutes later, he comes out and does a deft shot. Well done. Going to halftime, 1-0. That middle part of that first half was difficult. So we started out well.
Like right after the 20th minute to
35, 40.
Minute. Yeah, I mean, that the defense looked really leaky there.
Yes.
That seemed to be the first time that they really tried to emphasize the width. I mean, you saw, because they were playing like a 3-1-4-2 in possession, and the wide of that four were like on the touchline sideline at that point, and they really started, and that was softening up the middle, and that allowed them to kind of get in behind. We seemed to kind of like correct that a little bit in the second half, but that was a worrying period. And for a bit there, you were like, oh man, is this going to be the same thing where it's like a strong 20 minutes and then just absolute defensive collapse? Luckily, Ralph Fairman, who I don't think is getting getting credit, but obviously the headlines are going to be Harit and Matthew Hoppe in this game. Yeah. Ralph Fairman with a fantastic performance in goal.
Some people say he's man of the match. Big saves, timely saves.
You can't really argue against that. You could argue it for any number of players. I was somewhat surprised to not see Frederick Grunov, and like I think he had been the better keeper in the first half of the season. But credit to Fairman. Love seeing him put in like a confident performance like that, where he's doing what he does best, which is just shot stopping. And he came out, was big a couple times. Huge performance from him.
I think it said something like his first shutout since like last November 2018, I guess it was, maybe, or 2019. I don't know, whatever. So it's a long time for him. But yeah, it was a great play overall. And then coming on the first half, before we get to that, you're talking about how they really got us wide in that that middle part, towards the middle part of the first half. We had started off so well playing compact. That's what's making it difficult for Hoffenheim. And like you said, to their credit, they forced us wide. We started following them, and then the gap started opening up, and shot after shot. But Fairman kept us in it, and then Hoppe, obviously with that great save, go 1-0 into halftime. Coming out of the break, we started out very well, but we talked about Stambouli. He made a great play on Kramaric, I believe, wins the tackle. The ball ends up going to Becker. Becker finds Harit. Harit just starts charging up the middle. Again, Hoppe with making the run. Harit found him perfectly. He kind of drew the team to the right. Hoppe goes to the left, feeds the ball to the left. Hoppe with a nice move around the keeper. Bang it in, 2-0. At that point, I bet you other players are like, this kid's on fire. Look at this kid.
That goal was so funny to me because Harit picks up this ball like basically at the exact middle point of the pitch. Like the center of the center circle almost, basically.
Yeah.
And there is not a Hoffenheim player within like 15 yards of him in any direction. It's like, maybe don't let Harit just pick up the ball in the middle of the field in that
Did you not see the first goal? No.
Like, yeah, probably not the best idea. And that's where you're kind of like, maybe there's just too many injuries for this team to be that cohesive right now. But once again, really smart run from Matthew Hoppe. He stays on side. He flattens out his run in the period of time to kind of like run, towards one of the sidelines to stay on side. And then, once one of the defenders commits to pop out and try to challenge and put pressure on Harit making the run, he runs in behind off that back shoulder. And he dribbles it around the keeper and puts it away again. And it's just like, once again, super calm, composed, confident finish. Looks like he's been banging in that kind of goal. at this level for years at this point. I mean, it's so impressive. And this was the one I think you saw him run over and give Naldo a hug, and there's a moment where he kind of like looks up and he almost like smile, like laugh, kind of like I can't believe like what's happening right now, and I couldn't either. But it was, I mean, so happy for this kid. I mean, seriously, like, what a way to like really announce your arrival potentially. Hopefully, he can keep up.
So. First goal, chip shot with his left foot. Second goal, dances around the keeper, gets a goal, right? And if you weren't impressed by then, the third goal, it was Volk making an unnecessary turnover right to Harit, the hottest guy in the game. Harit charges up the middle again and finds Hoppe with a nice run again. And again, this time with a chip shot with his right foot over the keeper. Baumann just like, and at this point, he's celebrating like he's Lewandowski, going, sliding on his knees. And everyone else is like, are you kidding me? Which is funny, though, I thought about the goal was it seemed like all the rest of the players got together before they ran over to him. Like they all got, if you watch it, it's a delay before they all go celebrate with him. And all of a sudden they all pile on top of him, which is kind of funny. But the kid, I mean, my goodness, 3 goals, 3 beautifully taken goals. Like to Matt the Fish's, to his credit, says composed on all 3 goals. It was fantastic goals by Hoppe. At that point, I'm thinking, okay, maybe we got this win. It's still a little early. With the nail in the coffin in the 79th minute, the man you're just talking about, Ochipka, it was from Serdar to Harit to Ochipka. Ochipka goes on the left-hand side. As he's coming in, he finds Harit cut into the box, and he just bangs it home in the middle, or on the left-hand side. 4-0. Amazing. I think you're on mute, bud.
That's happened at least once every podcast, I feel like.
Just like Ozan Kabak in the yellow every game.
It wasn't a problem before. I don't know why I've started doing that recently. Harit on that Matthew Hoppe third goal. Harit intercepts the pass, cuts inside, drives up the middle, and then really nice angle on the ball he plays through to kind of like lead Hoppe into space more. And that finish from Hoppe for the third one, maybe my favorite of the day for him, just because he doesn't even look like he looks up. Like he knows where the goal is. He has his head down, and then just that, outside of the right foot, clever finish, and Baumann just stands there and looks at his defenders like, what is going on? How much fun is Harit to watch when he plays like this? This is why it is so frustrating.
Yes.
He's inconsistent. And it's because like he is electric. He's like, there's times he like defies the laws of physics out there with some of these dribbles. And he was irresistible in this game. And you just wish he could tap into that and bring it more consistently. I mean, you saw him when he scored his goal. His celebration was covering the ears, maybe like silencing the critics, which, fair enough. He had a unbelievable game.
Maybe it's the demons in his head.
But I'm just saying, like, you better come out next week then and put in a good performance. It can't just be like a one-off thing. So, but yeah, I mean, his goal, good job by Ochipka getting forward, like you said. And then Harit's goal was hit with pace, confidently, just like, not even unconscious. Just ruthless finishing. Yeah. So refreshing. I'm struggling for words. It was such a great change of pace to witness some of this intelligent play. And I mean, hopefully they can keep that Harit Hoppe combo going because it's fun to watch for sure.
So my comment to the chat and to anyone listening, who was your man of the match? Was it Hoppe with his 3 goals? Was it Harit with a goal and 3 assists, or was it someone else? Maybe Ralph Fairman. Let us know either in the chat or or on Twitter. Facebook or Instagram. It's a good result all the way around. Some of the players, a lot of players played well, I thought. The stand-up performers for me in the match overall, I would have to say, is certainly Fairman with some big saves in the game, get the shutout. Harit, goal and 3 assists. I mean, that's amazing. I think we couldn't have done anything without him. And then Hoppe with the class finishes. Those were the 3 standouts by far, I think. If I'm picking man of the match, I'm picking Harit. Just the 3 assists. I mean, like you said, Mark Uth is a really good player, but when he's at his best and Harit's at his best, it's not even close.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when Harit plays like that, he is one of the best players in the Bundesliga.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's not controversial. The problem is we just don't see it that often or consistently enough. But like he was playing like in similar form for a period of time early in the season last year. And then, once Schalke collapsed at the winter break, he kind of collapsed too. But like we see him tap into this every once in a while, and you're like, what could we accomplish if we had this kind of play consistently? Something else I wanted to mention: Suat Serdar. I thought a really, really poor first half. Yeah, and somebody that we had been kind of talking about the last couple of weeks is like maybe that deeper or like more central midfield role for him isn't the best. I don't know, but did turn it around, I thought, in the second half and was much better.
Yeah.
And more involved in things and was connecting better. And then he, of course, had that one really nice defensive play in the box and like got up and like celebrated as if he had just scored a goal.
Yeah.
Which, where's that kind of spirit been in the squad? I don't know if that's. I mean,
and the sausage big blocks as well. I mean, yeah.
I mean, he got caught out a couple times, but yeah, he also made a couple. I mean, there's people you can point to all over the pitch that had good moments. I mean, like Shup had good moments, like I said.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we've been missing is a borderline like complete team performance for 90 minutes. Some more creativity, some better finishing, and the individual mistakes have been cut down upon in this match. This is what can happen. So hopefully it's not a flash in the pan, and hopefully we can keep this rolling. I mean, Christian Gross not reinventing the wheel. It's a 4-4-2.
Yeah. And we knew this is how he's going to come out with, because that's what he's done historically on teams like this who are struggling in the bottom of the table. And yeah, it's not anything new, but whatever he's saying to them, it's working. Apparently he's been at Harit's hip for like the whole week and saying like this. Keep talking them up and saying, you got this. This is we're with you, and it's obviously working. Whatever he said, Harit, man. And Kolasinac, like I said, apologize to him because I mean, giving him the captain's ban. Well, you could talk about what you want. He brought it in the game. Right? He brought the energy from the onset. The first goal was a big second hockey assist by him, and he was the first one celebrating on every single goal.
For sure. It's also the commitment that he shows in 50-50 balls.
Yes.
And the physicality they showed. There was another play that was early in the match. I want to say it was like 13th minute, somewhere around there. Schalke lose the ball, and there's kind of an early transition pass played out to the right-hand side. I forget if it's like a heavy touch or a loose pass or something, but it's a 50-50 ball. And Kolasinac, sprints this thing down, like full slide tackle, full stretch slide tackle to keep the play alive. And ultimately it ends in them committing a foul. I think it was on Sitter or something, and we maintained possession. But it's like, it's somebody that's just like putting his body on the line, diving into those challenges. Like, yeah, sometimes he's a little hot under the collar. Sometimes he's a little clumsy because of how physical and aggressive he is. But like, man, we really miss that energy. And that's exactly what I remember of him back when he was on our squad initially, is just like the physicality, the emotion, the heart, the drive, getting forward, putting a shot at every once in a while. And this was like vintage Zayo for me.
Yeah. And it's funny because we almost had a unanimous Harit vote for man of the match. William Kremp, though, brings a good point. He said for him, it's Ferriman. And I'll put up here on the screen, says, if he doesn't make those big saves, I don't see the team coming back, turning around from 3 goals. It's very possible. There's huge saves by him, no doubt about it, from all portions of the game. First half, second half, he came up big. So very, very excellent. Dave Lee's in the house. The American Outlaw says the tempo of his play was excellent, and I agree about that. Yeah, it was a good game overall by everybody, like you said. And Matt is asking, what is our thoughts on Oczipka playing left midfielder? Because when he came in, Kolasinac was still in his left back position. So what do I think of it? I think it was good for him because he didn't have that much responsibility defensively, where he's been a little shaky lately. The pace is not a big deal because you had Kolasinac back there, so he could just focus on his game. So I liked it. It was overall, and obviously he got an assist. What do you think about his performance?
Yeah, I don't know if that's something I'm like super high on seeing all the time.
No, not all the time.
But I certainly don't mind Oczipka as a fresh legs guy later in matches. I think we've just ground him down so much over the past couple seasons. He's playing like a full 90 minutes so often, and I think it's nice to get Kolasinac in there because for one reason, I mean, I think he's better at this point, clearly. Yeah. But yeah, to get Oczipka some rest, keep him fresh, and yeah, maybe if they do that stack every once in a while, and he doesn't have to worry about the defensive responsibilities, he can flex, maybe an eye for some offensive creativity that we haven't seen enough from him. Maybe it's actually in there, and we just haven't had the opportunity to really unlock it. Maybe that can help.
Yeah, that could very well be it. It's hard not to watch this game over and over again, just because we haven't seen this in the longest time. It's been, almost a full calendar year since we last seen this. So we got that Tasmania Berlin thing out of the way. Don't have to freaking worry about it now. But what we've been talking about the last few weeks, we're trying to keep this upbeat positivity going, is that if we get a win, let the guys see what it's like. Hopefully they can start building off of this and start going. I mean, they're now not in the bottom of the table anymore. They're only 4 points out of the relegation spot. It's still early in the season. We've been trying to tell everybody. It's 14, 15 games in. or whatever it is, it's still a long way to go. Still
I mean,
left.
the problem's not solved yet. We're still multiple results away from getting out of a relegation possible position, and that's assuming a couple of the teams ahead of us don't gain points during that period of time. So, I mean, we're going to have to string some results together. But but like, you know, just like that one result, we're already off the bottom of the table, like you said, and it's a gap that is absolutely achievable. And once again, you look at the quality in the squad. Yeah, perhaps relatively lesser compared to previous campaigns recently, but there's too much talent in the squad to go down. Like, I'm not saying it can't happen; it absolutely can happen, and we've seen, you know, how long this has been going on. But it just doesn't make sense that they wouldn't be able to like turn this around at some point. There's too many good individual players. Like, you look at Harit in this game, and you're like, how can a team that has a guy that can do that kind of thing and put in that kind of game actually get relegated? So yeah, hopefully that gives them some confidence. You know, it happens right at the start of a new year too. Maybe that has some psychological benefit.
2021.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And they can build on it, and they can go and you know, hopefully we're not dragging this out towards the end of the season. Hopefully maybe by early March, we're talking about a different situation or something like that.
Yeah, hopefully. Next two games are certainly winnable. Eintracht Frankfurt and Cologne as well. So that's before the big game, the rematch against Bayern. So and at this point, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But you take it a game at a time. You saw even Ozan Kabak, and after the game, was saying, "I forgot how this feels like, you know, to win a game." He was, you know, everybody was ecstatic. So. Yeah, good stuff all around. You hear a lot of rumors now. All of a sudden, you hear rumors about Draxler maybe getting loaned out from PSG. We'll see if that can happen. Another shout out to from Leafson about Fairman being the man of the match. El Waflo is here, says Glukov, greetings from Germany. Hey, what's up, man? Who's that? William says looked great. Seo looked great as captain. Lots of on-field chatter. That is something I did notice. He was talking to everybody. Even after a goal, he was talking to people to try to get their heads in the game. Stambouli was doing that as well. So that was important. I think the guys who had to be leaders were leaders no matter what the situation was, good or bad. Those two are certainly coming to the forefront. Jake has a question for us. He says, let's say we stay up in the Bundesliga and avoid relegation. Who do you see departing? Bentaleb? That's the easy card. The easy card. No?
He's supposedly supposed to be departing right now in the January window. Yeah. Kabak probably. Yeah. He's the guy that's been consistently. He's like the McKennie kind of, you know, the guy that has the big European appeal. Yeah. There's constantly like Liverpool rumors with him. That's the one team I keep seeing. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I would imagine we probably lose him. Maybe Harit, especially if he keeps up, you know, good form. Not like this form, it's insane form, but you know, good form the rest of the season. If he can show some consistency, somebody's going to snatch him up. They're going to have to. I feel like. I mean, I don't know. It's funny to see on Twitter, like, there's one good performance from him, and suddenly everyone on Twitter is like, "Yeah, this guy's amazing!" Like just
$80 million guy.
It's like you clearly are not watching like what's taking place. This guy is like, you know, half the season suspended and not even with the first team. So, what do you think? I mean, any other guys that really stand out for you?
Those are the main ones. I see Ut staying, Serdar. I see Serdar staying. Honestly, probably. I mean, one of the defenders. If a Chipko leaves, then you have to keep Nasasic and.
I think Serdar could go. Now that you mention that, I feel like I get the sense that maybe he's not happy.
Schoff, maybe he's always underperformed. He could.
So I'm laughing at myself, being like, maybe he's not happy. And I'm like, you think? Like, I don't think there's a lot of people at the team that are happy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, Eric's on here says Cologne is a must-win. It certainly is. I think the next two are must-wins. They have to gain some momentum, especially before we go to Bayern. If they get two more wins, who knows what could happen in Bayern? More than likely, like you mentioned like last week, you know, even when we're good, we lose to Bayern. So, I mean, anything can happen, obviously, because they lost to Gladbach this past week or whatever. So,
Robbie Matondo as well. I forgot because he got loaned out to Stoke. I believe there's an option to buy in that loan move. I forget. Yeah, but wouldn't be surprised to see him move on. And honestly, that might be best for his career because I just don't think we've been able to use him and play to his strengths consistently enough.
No, not at all. It's funny enough. WhoScored.com. They had a tweet out that said, from a 30-game winless run to top-rated team in Europe this weekend, Schalke, top-ranked team in Europe. Who knew? And they had a picture of our boy Gross is like,
yeah,
that's pretty good. Abel Meseros, was that?
There's who scored needs to calm down a little bit with
Yeah,
that.
they do. Abel Meseros had some good analysis on the game after the game, talking about how Schalke came out there. They operated with a ball-oriented 4-4-2. So what Schalke did was that whatever side the ball was on, they would press on that side. It's very effective that they did against Hoffenheim. And if you read his thread, we'll retweet it. Has some good insight on the way Schalke was approaching the game and how they forced many turnovers against Hoffenheim. Obviously, Abel is way up here in terms of analysis compared to us. He knows what he's talking about. So, give that thing a look because it's very. Once I saw that and I watched the game again, I'm like, wow, that's right. I mean, I didn't notice that during the game, but yeah, you could see where they're going to each side, pressing. And really, really shifting to one side of the pitch. A team like Bayern could probably exploit that easily, but a team like Hoffenheim, who doesn't have that kind of those players, it certainly worked and it caused turnovers. I mean, that one goal, Volk to give it right to Harit, who ended up giving to Hoppe for the hat trick. So it worked effectively, and hopefully they keep this up. But this is the way they're going to have to play, I think, against the rest of the teams and to try to salvage any kind of relegation talk.
Yeah, and with a system that's like that simple, I mean, in the squad that we have, it's not as if we're suddenly going to turn this around and start beating and being competitive against really good teams. But you would think that the formula we saw in this match has to be repeatable against teams closer to the bottom of the table.
Yeah,
enough to that we could get safety. Yeah. You would hope. It's one result in a sea of awful results. So who knows? But yeah, in terms of what the approach was, it wasn't like so far beyond what I think the club is capable of doing regularly that it does give me some optimism.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake says, "Oh, boys, let's raise a Jaeger and drink to victory and many more to come." If I had a Jaeger with me, I would, but
Jaeger.
We're more bourbon whiskey guys, but
I'm upset I didn't have any Velton's Pilsner in the house.
There you go. Yeah. Troy says, our thoughts on Becker right back. We thought he did very well in the game. He didn't look out of place, which is an important thing. To your credit, you said, we didn't really notice him, and that's not a bad thing. A couple of times that he did get the nice secondary assist on the second goal, the one Stambouli broke up. I didn't see him really get beat many times. I mean, there was a play where Samaseko had a good play, or maybe it was Bebu. But other than that, he was solid back there, I thought. Good passing, good decisions.
Yeah, I mean, like Mao Chow, for instance, gives you a little bit more in possession.
Yeah.
And is able to contribute towards building a little bit more than I think Becker is. But Becker's just risk mitigation, super solid, dependable, totally fine. Yeah.
Eric hit a spot on. Solid, obviously not Rafinha or Ochita, but positionally strong, and I agree about that. William says, so nice to see you guys happy again. Hey, we are too. We don't even know what this is like anymore. We forgot.
It's nice to see me happy again as well.
It is. It is. We went to Facebook and all the social medias to get some questions and comments from everybody. And if you have any more, obviously shoot us in the game, but in the chat. David Thielen says, I really liked the team effort, but would especially praise Fairman, Hoppe, and Harit, Kola, and Becker. The first two for the offensive output, Kola for his attitude and drive, and Becker for helping shore up the defense. I hope he's still bringing in another couple of reinforcements at right back, center forward, and right wing, as I thought Schoff struggled to add much going forward. I thought he was solid in the game. And then he says, at the other positions, we just need more options and depth. And depth is always something we struggle for.
But notice how many players are shouted out there. It's not just like this one guy had a good. It's 4, 5, 6 guys had noticeably better games than what we're used to seeing and had standout performances. That's awesome. That's the kind of format that you're going to need. You're going to need that collective team performance if we're going to turn this around.
Yeah. Dave Lee says whiskey and wins. Great combo. I agree, Dave. I agree. Next comment comes from Dirk. He says, I hope that all of this wasn't just a fluke. Harit was, and after Fairman, the man of the match. Hope he did well, but let's hold back with the praise a little. And his finishing, you can't discount his finishing. It was great finishing, composed finishing with all 3 goals. It wasn't just the one goal. But Harit, I think, was a standout performer. Fairman as well, but I don't think we could have done any of this offensively without Harit. Harit was the spark plug, the X factor, which we hadn't said in it feels like many years, in a long time. That kind of performance from him really ignites the offense, and so we see more of that. We'll see more goals. I'm positive of that. More wins, I don't know, but more goals for sure.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, I mean Matthew Hoppe's 19. We don't want to put too much pressure on him to, carry us forward now and continuously put in a performance like this. But at the same time, once again, the same thing I kind of said a minute ago, some of the things that you're seeing, though, that are benefiting him, they look like they're repeatable. Like it's consistently it's his off the ball movement, it's his spatial awareness, it's his vision, his match IQ. That's stuff that should be consistent game to game. And if he can keep finding pockets of space like that, maybe he can be present. Something else I noticed about him that I wanted to mention actually, that I hadn't really keyed into as much before, but super good in the air, but like with like transitional long balls. So so like he's kind of running kind of almost back towards where the ball is coming from while there's a runner like overlapping, and he has these flicked on headers.
A couple times in midfield he did that.
Yeah, there was one he actually did with his chest too, and like directed it, and he consistently is winning those and is springing people. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. I think that's a useful skill to him to have as sort of like a target man vibe there. But yeah, I mean he was really impressive in this game. Troy
says, we kind of talked about this too. He's kind of feeling bad for Katuchu now that Hoppe's, getting the goals, and he'll certainly get more time now. And Edwin's joining us as well. He says, do you guys think if Katuchu was given the same confidence Hoppe has received by Baum and now Gross, that the free Katuchu movement could be salvaged? I mean, maybe. Well, we don't know. We talked about this at length in the past about why Katuchu is not playing. Obviously, the praise for Hoppe has helped him immensely. Also, Harit, they both played very, very well. Could it help? Sure. I mean, we know that when he's on the pitch, he does good things. If he gets consistent playing time, I think, we'll see more goals. We'll see this kind of action, but we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, so we can't make that determination of whether it will work or not. Because obviously, Gross came out and said Hoppe is a professional, is great on the practice pitch, and maybe like to what you said, Jack, earlier, maybe Katuchu isn't. Maybe that's why he's been kept back. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. I think there's just too many unknowns at this point for us to really judge like why this is happening. And I don't think it's like, well, why isn't Katuchu being given the same opportunities? It's kind of unfair that it's happening for Hoppe. But as you said, and as I mentioned earlier, like the comments from Christian Gross, so it doesn't sound undeserved in that sense. If that's the effort and the impact that he's making and the impression that he's making on his coaching staff and practice, then it's like, if that's the way somebody wants to evaluate who gets to start, I think that's totally fair. To some extent, and good on Matthew Hoppe for working harder than everybody else. I mean, sometimes that's the way you stand out and get those opportunities, and now he's made the most of it.
And he's not a natural striker, though he looked like it in this game. We talked about this at length last game or last podcast, how he is making those runs, and that's what a striker needs to do. We hadn't seen that in a long time, where the striker is making the runs that you need, and eventually now the guys, or at least Harit, was trusting him enough to give him the ball because he was making it in the Hertha game and other appearances before, so. Good on him to keep doing it. I mean, I was looking at some of his youth stats, and he scored some goals, but he's always been an attacking midfielder, which is surprising given his size. But we've seen with his link-up play in the last game and this game that I can see what the midfielder thing comes out of, but he looks like a striker to me. The finishing is just nice.
I still think it would be a mistake to loan or sell out Katuchu at this point.
I agree.
This is just one performance. Like I think we still need him for depth purposes, and I still think he should get more minutes than he's getting. But yeah, I'm becoming less and less convinced that there's going to be a turnaround in terms of his trajectory with the club, and that's sad because obviously my affinity for this young man is well established. But hopefully we hold on to him. But it sounds like there's a chance he's leaving in the January window to go play his football somewhere else for at least a couple months.
Comment from Glenn Collins. He says, Mascarell is a good footballer, but again, with him out of such an influential position on the field, and we were far more attacking and aggressive. And aggressive midfield means our strikers aren't trying to play 2 versus 6 or versus 7, and they go forward. Timo needs to look left. I agree about that, but so many times Stambouli was calling for the pass. Otherwise, hell yeah, boys, keep it going. It was just, we were more aggressive, and I don't know if it was just a game plan or because Stambouli was in it over Mascarell, I don't know, but the way they play, they need to keep doing it. Make somebody stop you. I think they can, like you said earlier, they could have some teams this year by playing this way. Certainly, give every team in the bottom half of the table a run for their money. So, we need to see more of this, I think, for sure. Let's see. Derek was saying, again, let's try not to talk too much about the American kid. I mean, how can you not? I mean, California dreaming. Like the beginning of the podcast, is like California dreaming. This kid is let him enjoy it. Let him enjoy it. We're not calling him Lewandowski.
Yeah, I don't want to put too much pressure on him, and I don't want to exaggerate how good we think he is at this point just because of one performance. But at the same time, like you have to give credit for how great of a story that is. I mean, the fact that he sets a record and becomes the first American to score a hat trick in the Bundesliga. When you consider some of the players that have been there recently, I mean, like, Pulisic, obviously, but Dortmund have the American dream right now in Gio Reyna, and we have the California dream in Matthew Hoppe. And it's for him to be the one that like kind of helped end the streak. I mean, obviously, there's everyone contributed to that win. It's not just one person, but like, for Schalke to break that winless streak on the back of a 19-year-old American hat trick in his third start is a pretty ridiculous story. So like, we're going to talk about it like for a bit. So I mean,
he's got Haaland
to be too annoying.
3 goals in 3 games. Speaking of Dirk, he's in the chat now. He says, I'm not so sure about Gattuso anymore. He didn't get a chance from 4 coaches. Something is going on that we don't see or hear about. We agree about that. Too bad, because he's a real Schalke young, and I agree. He does have kind of like Kolasinac. He has that hunger, that fight that you want in a game. Just unfortunately, he's not getting as much time as he should, or as we think he should at least. So it's certainly a interesting question there, but it's we're done with that game. Obviously Eintracht's on the horizon, and then Cologne as well. Eintracht's an interesting team. They have been very dangerous in the past. They're not where they were before, but they can still have teams. They're a decent squad. Certainly they got a lot of attacking options that we have to be wary of, but I think, if we kind of like we mentioned earlier, if we played the same way we play in this game, I think it'll do us very well going forward, especially in this game against Eintracht. It's obviously one game at a time. That's all we can do, especially given our situation. But I think not having that Tasmania-Berlin thing in the back of their mind, they can focus a little bit better on the game. Having that win helps a million times, and I think we'll see another good performance, I think. Do we win? I don't know. I hope. I just want to be more happy again on this podcast like we are today.
Yeah, Frankfurt's still top half of the table. It's just, the result isn't always going to be 4-0. It's not going to be that stark of a score line on the back of a performance like this. But you put that kind of performance in consistently enough, it's going to keep you in more games. And I think over the course of the Rook run to here, there's a chance that it could get us on the right side of things.
Yeah, Eintracht did do us a favor of beating the Mainz this past weekend. That's why we're no longer in bottom of the table. But they are a 9th place or something like that. They're on a good bit of form. I think 3 wins in the last 5. So it's not a team to scoff home about. So it's going to be difficult. But I think, again, play the same way. Give ourselves a chance. Harit needs to show up again. I think that if he does, who knows? But I love it. So. Jake says, a wise man named Tupac once told me that California knows how to party. Hoppe is taking his cue from him, I guess. Jack, that's before your time.
Yeah, that's fair. No, yeah.
No comment. Anything else you want to talk about? I mean, we got to take a step back. It's a 1 win of the season, but it's a good win. It's been a long time coming, so I think it's fair that we get to celebrate one.
I don't think there's anything else we really need to get into. It's just nice to have this moment. Who knows what's in store for us in the coming weeks, the coming months as we close out the season. But an important moment, and hopefully a moment that we look back on in the future and say this was maybe a turning point where we settled things down, collected our breath, and started to build a platform to jump forward.
Yeah, I hope so too. And we're that team spirit we haven't seen in a long, long time, and it was this refreshing. Do yourselves a favor, rewatch the game, or rewatch it for the 3rd time if you want. Just watch the chemistry of the team when they score the goals, especially that 3rd goal by Hoppe. Just how the team just went around him and celebrated with him. So and also Kolasinac being the first one every time to celebrate. So check that out. I mean, that's why he's on the team. That's why we need him, and he helped a lot too. He's got to get credit for this game too. So good stuff all the way around. I don't know. I don't think, I agree with you. Nothing more to say after that. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you sign up for the Schalke US newsletter. Not only do you get information on the club, but get the latest from the Royal Blues, all the local fan clubs across North America, and even our podcast. Keep tuning in each week as we bring you the latest from the Royal Blues. If there are any topics you would like us to discuss, send us a tweet at SchalkeMerica. We'd like to give a special shout out to freaking the whole team. They got a freaking win, huh? Matthew Hoppe. How about that? Matthew Hoppe, California Dream, and Jack. Where can our followers find you on social media?
Find me at JM Mangan, JMMANGAN on Twitter. A couple guest appearances happening from. I mean, I think you had one recently too. So we'll make sure to tweet those out when they appear. But it would be nice if you would give those listeners and support those programs as well for being willing to discuss Schalke on their podcast and spread the Schalke depression elsewhere. But for a brief moment, it's not Schalke depression. It's Schalke sunshine. Let's go.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, I'm also going to be joining the Faraway Fan podcast to talk about my Schalke journey as I've been a fan here. So definitely give them a follow as well. And yeah, you can follow me at R_KHARMAN on Twitter, Instagram, anywhere pretty much. And as always, until the next podcast comes, my friends, stay ready. We'll be with you soon. Tschüss.